Hi again, this is Tom English again, and our second thing I want to talk about with fractions is the ability to add and subtract fractions, multiply and divide. The first thing we have to remember when we're going to add or subtract, the first key is the fact that we have to have the same denominator. In other words, if our job is to add 1/3 to 1/4, we can't add those as they are. What we have to do is convert each of them to a common denominator, and then once we have a common denominator, we can just add the numerators, and that becomes our sum. How do we determine what is a good denominator? What will 3 and 4 both go into? Well, the simple thing to do is just multiply 3 times 4, and that's 12. And we can say, okay, if we convert 1/3 to 12ths, and we convert 1/4 to 12ths, then we can add the two fractions and get a total. Well, how do we determine that? Well, we have to look at it and say, okay, in order for 3 to become 12, what do we have to do? What do we have to do to that 3 to get it to equal 12? Well, the answer is we multiply it by a 4. 3 times 4 is 12. What did we say in our last lesson? Anything you do to the numerator or to the denominator, you also have to do to the numerator. So if we're multiplying this denominator by 4, we have to multiply also the numerator by 4, and what we end up with then is 4/12. So we're saying that 1/3 is equivalent to 4/12. And the reason it's equivalent, we multiply it by 4/4, which is equal to 1. We haven't changed the value at all. What we did change is the look of the fraction, because we now have the same value, but we have a denominator of 12 because we determined that was our common denominator for both fractions. What do we do with 4 in order to get 12? Well, 4 times what is equal to 12? 4 times 3 is equal to 12. If we multiply the denominator by 4, we also have to multiply the numerator by 4. And therefore, we have 1/4 is equal to 3/12. Now that we have both fractions with the same denominator, to add the two together, we just add the numerators. 4 plus 3 is equal to 7. So, 1/3 plus 1/4 would be equal to 7/12. Let's do another one quick. Let's make it a little tougher though, because they're not always going to be that simple and easy. Let's take something like, let's say 2/3 plus 3/7. Okay? Well, we're thinking again, what's the common denominator? 3 and 7. I double 3, I get 6. That's not going to work in the 7. We could say 3 times 3 is 9. That's not going to work. We can keep going that way. The one thing that always does work is multiplying the two together. 3 times 7 is 21. If I multiply this by 7, I'll get a fraction with 21 in the denominator. If I multiply 7 by 3, I'll get 21 in the denominator. But what's our numerators going to be? Again, whatever we do to the denominator, we must do to the numerator. If we multiply the 3 by 7, we also have to multiply the 2 by 7. 2 times 7 is 14. 3 times 7, then 3 times 3. That's equal to 9/21. Now we have the same common denominator, 21. We can add the numerators. When we add 14 plus 9, our answer is 23 over 21. Now that looks a little strange in that the numerator is bigger than the denominator. That's what we call an improper fraction. That has to be reduced, but I'm going to save that for another lesson. Let's take another one that we can do quickly. Let's say I'm going to do 4/5, and to that I want to add, let's say, 3/10. Okay? Again, what denominator will both of these satisfy? What's the quickest way to find? Well, I usually take the smallest one and I say, what if I double it? What if I triple it? Multiply by 4, see if I can get something close to it. In this case, it's pretty easy because I say if I double the 5, I'm going to get 10, aren't I? And this is already tenths. So all I have to do is multiply both the numerator and denominator of the top fraction by 2, and I get 8/10. This one I don't have to change. That's 3/10. And now I can add them and make it 11/10. Now, if this happened to be a negative, in other words, it's asking us to subtract 3/10 from 4/5, then I subtract the denominators. In this case then, if it was 8 minus 3, this would then be 5/10. Now, that one, no, is that in its lowest form? Is our answer 5/10? No, I hope we can see that this can be reduced by dividing each of the numerator and denominator. If we divide each by 5, what's our final answer going to be? 5 divided by 5 is 1, 10 divided by 5 is 2, so our final answer would be 1/2. Okay? Hopefully that's clear to you, and again, we're going to be working on more with the improper fractions, mixed numbers, and so forth, and hopefully by the end of those lessons, fractions will be a lot clearer to you. Thank you much.